So click, flare that up there, the respiratory system. So I have my version of the document right here. Does anybody have any fill in the blanks for that first part there? This system provides the body with, what do we got? Yep. O2 and rids the body of waste. Yep. Carbon dioxide. Excellent. This blank blank. That's a tricky one. But we did a little cheat move. Yeah, what do you got? Oh, he's checking the notes. Gas exchange. That's okay. That's where we're going to get it to. Gas exchange. The gas exchange between the O2 and the CO2 to enter and leave. Excellent. Is accomplished partly by, who's got something other than Tyson reading the note? We'll go to Tyson if we desperately need it. Yep. Inhaling and exhaling air into and out of the, yep, lungs. O2 and CO2 must be exchanged to allow for cell blank. Yep. Respiration. Now, careful with this term respiration. Cell respiration is not that the cell is breathing, that type of thing. When we, respirate, we're breathing. That's what we typically, associate it with. But cell respiration is simply the act of the cell using the O2 and converting it to CO2. Remember, this happens in the powerhouse of the cell. What was that organelle called? What was that little thing in the cell that was called the powerhouse that creates the energy? Anybody remember? Started with the letter M. Nope. Yep. Mitochondria. So the mitochondria is the thing that uses the O, uses the food, does its thing, produces the CO2, and that's what we call cell respiration. All right? Okay. Allowed for cell respiration to occur in our cells in order to provide the blank for life. Yep. Yeah, I would say energy for life. Let's take a look at what our slide says. See if we've got that. Actually, we could just probably ask Tyson because he's looking at the slide. That's okay. That is okay. Gas exchange, inhale and exhaling from the lungs, and again, for respiration and the energy of life. Excellent. So the respiratory tract, all right? So that's the entire kind of organs that are used in order to do this. The respiratory tract is lined with blank cells. Did anybody get that? Yep. Epithelial cells, I would say. Again, it's not like our skin, but it's exposed to the air that we bring in. So there's usually epithelial cells involved when there's exposure to the outside world. Okay, which are covered with hair-like, yep, cilia, and those are those little protrusions. Excellent. And other cells which secrete, what do they secrete? Mucus. Excellent. This is a very non-disgusting lesson we've got here going today. To line the tubes. Together, the mucus with the cilia help to moisten and blank. Moisten and blank, yep. Clean the air. Where am I? I am totally lost. I looked away. And clean the air to prevent blank, dust, and particles. I don't even know what that blank would be. Bacteria? Is it bacteria? What did you guys put? Dirt. What did you guys put? Dirt, bacteria, dirt. Sure, that would be fine. Any of those types of things. Well, the bacteria is pretty small, so I don't know. But yeah, we can put that. It's not a problem. From reaching the lungs. Yeah, I would say so. Let's take a look and see what we did. Tract lined with epithelial cells, cilia, which secrete mucus. Together, the mucus cilia helps to moisten, filter the air to prevent dirt, dust, and particles from reaching the lungs. Excellent. Talking about the trachea. This is the tube that connects the blank to the blank. What is this tube connect? The blank to the blank. What do we got? Yep. Bronchi. Is it bronchi? Is it bronchi? Bronchi? Throat to the bronchi? Is it? So is it bronchioles?
No, singular is bronchus.
Yeah, Here, let's advance it. Yeah, so bronchus is one of the tubes, and so bronchi is the pair, right? So bronchus is one of the tubes. Actually, you know what? I don't even like this diagram. That little tube there, I wouldn't say is the bronchus. I would say it's the big tube that goes into the lungs. I would say that this picture is incorrect. Does it talk about what the smaller tubes are called? What are the smaller ones called? That's way down at the very end. I'm talking about the small air tubes. Does it talk about bronchioles? That they're smaller tubes? Right. Smaller tubes, I think, is what we want there. But they're sometimes called bronchioles. Anyway, bronchi is the pair. Bronchus is one of them. Let's just keep rolling. So here we are in the bronchi. And again, I was asking you to help fill in, but let's just go ahead and take a look at what the slide says from here on in. The trachea branches to the right bronchus and the left bronchus, which are tubes designed to carry the air into the lungs. All right? So I don't know what blanks you've got to fill in there, but hopefully you're following along and you're filling in. Yep.
I have a question.
Yep.
If di and dice is plural and di is singular, why
Oh,
do they
I don't know. This is an English question. And as you know, my ability in English is not so good. So I don't have an answer to that. Okay. The bronchi branch into further and further into many tinier tubes. I think we saw a video earlier on where they call those smaller tubes bronchioles, something you don't have to worry about. And then in the end, there it is, Sarah, it says it right there, bronchioles. And then in the end, they end up in those air sacs. And that's where we're going to get to next, I believe. So when we get down to the smallest areas there, whoops, I think that's too far. Yeah, when we get down to the smallest thing there, the alveoli, I call it alveoli, rhymes with ravioli. That's the only way I remember how to say it, because again, I'm not a biologist either. But they're the smallest little sacs that are at the very end of all of those little tubes, and that's where the gas exchange takes place. So each of the tiniest tubes ends in a microscopic air sac called an alveolus. That's one, and then all of them together, or plural, is alveoli. In the alveoli, O2 and CO2 are exchanged with the blood, since the alveoli are surrounded by its own capillary. So little tiny blood vessels all around those things, so that every time you take a breath in with lots of oxygen, the oxygen through diffusion, because there's lots of oxygen in your lungs and not so much in the blood, just kind of naturally goes into the blood as it goes by. And because there's lots of carbon dioxide in the blood and not so much in the air, it just diffuses into the air, and you exhale, and you have more carbon dioxide in your exhaled breath. Actually, it would have been interesting. I should have. I actually have a CO2 device that will measure carbon dioxide, and you could actually connect it to this thing. I should have maybe tried that, but anyway, maybe another day. So here's where the transfer takes place. This transfer of gases occurs by diffusion. We talked about that across the cell membranes from the area of high concentration in the blood for O2. So it goes into the blood for O2 and to an area of low concentration. And then that's the low concentration in the alveoli. All right? Okay. So we get that transfer of the gases there. So breathing itself. And once I'm done through the thing, I'm going to show you, and this is a little kind of artificial set of lungs here that a student has built. And we've done that in the past as well. We've had each of you guys make a little set of lungs. But I figured using this technology and looking at the lung capacity might be an interesting thing to do for a few minutes instead. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. But breathing here, and again, we're still filling in blanks. It's involuntary, so you don't have to think about breathing, but you can. You know, we can take a deep breath. If a doctor says, please take a deep breath, we can do that. But as we're going through the day, we don't have to actually think about the breathing process. That's a good thing. Controlled by a part of the brain that detects levels of CO2 in the blood and then sends a message to the lungs to speed up or slow down. So if you've got lots of CO2 in the blood, then your breathing will increase and you will then be expelling that CO2 quicker. All right. So you do some athletic maneuvers, you play some hockey or play a sport, and your cells are producing lots of CO2 because they're chugging away all those muscle cells. So your blood is going to have extra CO2 in it. and your breathing, your rate increases. Inhalation. When we inhale, we don't actually muscularly control the lungs themselves. We have two sets of muscles that bring the air in. So the rib cage, the rib muscles move out. So when you breathe, you normally take a big breath, your rib cage kind of rises, right? Comes kind of out a little bit. And the other part is that the diaphragm, which is a very large muscle, which is right at the bottom kind of your lungs there. So there's a strong muscle there. It comes down, all right? So when you breathe, your lungs move out, your ribs move out, and your diaphragm moves down. And when your diaphragm moves down, your gut sticks out, all right? Your stomach kind of sticks out. Why? Because when that muscle moves down, all those other organs that are in there, like your intestines and things, they got to move somewhere, so your gut kind of sticks out there, all right? And you can try to just breathe with your ribs. Like if you were to just breathe with your ribs and not move your stomach, your chest would move up and down. If you want to, guys, when you walk around, you want to impress the girls, you stick out your muscles like that, right? But you could also, breathe just with your diaphragm. Now that you wouldn't do if you want to impress the girls, right? Because in the end it would look like this, right? Your gut would stick out. That's because when your diaphragm comes down, your stomach kind of sticks out. If you ever watch a baby sleep, like I mean a little baby, even like a toddler, but if you watch a baby sleep, you'll notice they only move their diaphragm. Their rib cage doesn't come up and down, but their little stomach goes up and down. Have you ever noticed that? Anybody watch a little baby sleep if you babysat? Their stomach goes out like crazy. Their ribs don't move very much, and that's because they're using that diaphragm action to bring the air in. Now notice the lungs don't actually do anything. Once that diaphragm pulls down and the ribs pull out, it sucks the air in. And I'm going to try to, actually I might as well demonstrate this now, even though I'm making the video, it's not a big deal. So this was an old kind of one that we did years ago. It's made up of a couple of straws there, which represent kind of the nostrils. And then it's got a couple of little tiny balloons, which represent the lungs. And then it's got a cup, which represents kind of the rib cage. And then the bottom was supposed to have a balloon on it, but it's been sitting there so long, the balloon disintegrated and kind of stuck to the cup. So I simply have to add a new balloon to this particular little demonstration. So I'm going to just cut the top part off of the balloon here so that I've just got kind of the rubbery part of it. And now I'm going to put that rubbery part on the cup, and I'm going to need an assistant here. Can you hang on to the cup here for a minute? Because I'm not going to be able to do it all by myself here. Yeah, that old balloon. Yeah, it must have reacted with the cup itself. Okay, awesome. So now if I can grab a hold of the bottom of the balloon, and you're looking at the little balloons there, see how when I pull down on the balloon, those little tiny balloons get bigger? Can you see it? Can you see it there? And if I pull down on it, you can actually hear the air moving out of the straws. All right? So remember, our lungs don't actually have muscles in them. It's when the diaphragm, which that muscle goes down, it creates low pressure on the inside of our lungs, and the air rushes in. So we don't actually make the lungs move. We make the other muscles around them move to create a larger space, which then creates a lower pressure inside the lungs, and that sucks the air in. Then we let that diaphragm down. And this is so exciting, Max is falling asleep. How many people in a sport have ever had the wind knocked out of them? Very unpleasant, right? That's an awful feeling when you're laying there going, you desperately want to breathe, but you can't. What typically happens there is you get a hit in the chest, but typically a little lower. What that kind of does, and I don't know what the mechanism is, at some point the diaphragm doesn't function properly. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it does it, whether it's kind of shocked or something, I have no idea, or whether there's such a low pressure in there that it can't move. I'm not sure, because I really am not a biologist, but it's that muscle not being able to draw the air in. So no matter how much you're working to make that muscle move, you can't, and it's a scary feeling because you can't breathe, right? And so again, it's that muscular response to that hit. So the ribs come out, the diaphragm goes down, and the air rushes in. When you want to exhale, you let that diaphragm relax, it goes back up, the ribs come down, and the air comes out. Excellent. Awesome. Diseases. Do we have this on our sheet? Is it on the sheet, the note? Good. I just want to talk about some different diseases here that can happen to the respiratory system. Tuberculosis. This can be a bad one. All right. Infectious disease caused by bacteria can lay dormant for years. So people have to have these TB tests sometimes if they go to a different country. It might be in their blood, so they can take care of it. SARS was one that happened quite a few years ago. You can see there, 2003. It was quite a concern because it was very much spreading very quickly throughout the world. Many of the major cities had it. Like even in Toronto, there were a handful of people that died. So people were very scared to go into the cities, that type of thing. And again, it was a respiratory issue, and obviously cancer, lung cancer related to smoking, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let's take a look then to finish off. Let's take a look at our labeling, our diagrams, and then, like I said, we'll do our little activity here. So the diagram here, respiratory system diagram. So again, you're changing your document if you're doing that. And my computer is running nice and slow, which means this should take forever. And I hope it doesn't take forever. Okie dokie. All right, and again, I have not necessarily looked at what the diagram looks like, so you guys are guiding me. What am I labeling? What am I labeling here? Is there anything labeled to the left that was out of the textbook? What do you got? Actually, even if you're looking just at the textbook, that's fine. It's looking like, yep, nasal cavity, that would be right there, I believe, correct? Right, nasal cavity. Nasal cavity, all right? And that's up there in your sinuses, all that type of stuff. Moving down to the left, what do we got? The mouth, obviously very important. Oops, that's a bone there. There's the mouth. Mouth. I just wrote on that bone. Anyway, not a big deal. Moving down, maybe a trachea, or is there a pharynx in there? Just a trachea? So here we've got the trachea, and then lung, I guess, would make sense. Oh, bronchus. Where do they have the bronchus labeled? Do they have it nicely on the tube? They do. They do. That's good. Remember on that other picture, they had it out here? So right there, bronchus. Excellent. And anything else on the left? The lung. The lung. Excellent. The lung. And do we have anything on the right? Oh, just the
Cells covered in cilia.
Cells covered. Oh, this here, cells covered in cilia. Cells covered, oops, in cilia. And on the other page, if you flip the page, I'm thinking you'll probably find an alveoli there. And, yep, what do you got there? So that would be capillary network. And then obviously the sacs themselves, alveoli. I don't know if I put it in the same spot as you guys did, but that's that. Okay, we've got that. We're okay. Let's finish off our chart. And I'm not going to be able to do that because my thing is going to choke on this. Click. Clear ink. Okay, let's finish this off. Listen up. What do we have here? Respiratory system. Mouth and nasal cavity. Exit 4, entrance 4, connected 2. What is exiting and entering? Yeah, exit 4, CO2, entrance 4, O2, connected to. Branches into. Oh, I think I know. What's it first connected to? Trachea. Trachea. Cells contain what? What are they move mucus, but what do they contain? What do those cells contain to move the mucus? It's the cilia. The cilia. They actually vibrate and they pulse and they move the mucus up to the back of your throat, and then it's disgusting, of course. Okay. What does the trachea branch into? The bronchi or the bronchus, right? The bronchi. Bronchi. Excellent. Bronchi inflammation leads to diseases such as, oh, you know what? We didn't even talk about this, but if the bronchi is inflamed, what do we call that? What do we call that? I think you could have bronchitis. We're not going to worry about those. What else do you call it when someone can't get a breath? Asthma. Asthma can cause that constriction of those particular things. Yep. Emphysema, which would be, again, one where you can't, I don't even know what it is, a mucus thing, swelling. All right, excellent. I'm not worried about that type of thing. The respiratory system, the bronchi is connected to, controlled by, I would say connected to the lungs, controlled by the diaphragm. Diaphragm, oh goodness, diaphragm. I hate that word. Diaphragm. Okay, all right. So let's close that up and put that aside. Actually, you still need Google Classroom here, so don't leave Google Classroom. What I want you to do now is I want you to open up that other file, and this is not something that we're going to turn in or do anything. This is, again, a little bit of an experiment for me. I want you to click on the lung capacity activity, all right? And I want you to try to open up that Google form. Yeah, that's good. So I want you to open up the lung capacity Google form, and you can start filling out information about yourself, but don't send it in yet, because we're now going to have you come up and use the lung capacity machine, which then we're going to collect data on lung capacity. All right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Do it in centimeters if you could. If you'd like, you could use a meter stick here with a partner. I don't know. I'm about 180 centimeters. I'm about 5'10". Don't worry about centimeters. Can we put it in as 5'10"? How do you do that? 5'12"? It's not going to be easy to graph. I wanted to do it by height, but it's not going to be easy to graph that way. You could put 5 foot and then something inches, but again, it's not going to graph very well. You could do that. It might be smart enough. If you don't know your height, don't worry about it. Okay, so what's going to happen at this point is we're going to use this particular device. And why did I not get that back open? Chrome. Okay. And actually, you can do this if you've got another device. If you put that URL into something like Safari, you'll be able to see the information that we're getting, that we're graphing. So I'm going to put it into this computer, because this device here that it's connected to has the ability to communicate wirelessly through a Wi-Fi network to the computer. So I'm just going to type it in here. There it is right there. And you can see there it says flow rate, but I'm actually going to change the experiment. Actually, if you do this, you can do the same. I'm going to click here. Can I not change that? Oh, volume. I want the graph to be volume. All right. So now I need my my first volunteer. All right, come on, Cade. So first, here's what's going to happen. We're going to be blowing into this device. Every time somebody blows into the device, because we don't want to pass on all kinds of colds and things like that, the tip will be dipped into isopropyl alcohol, which is essentially a disinfectant. So I'm going to have this second tip sitting in there nicely, waiting for the next person to do this. All right? This one I'd already cleaned. So what's going to happen is you're going to put that thing on your nose. You can go ahead and do that. And then you're going to take a really deep breath, as deep as you can, get a couple of practice runs in. Then you're just going to, you don't have to blow hard. Then you're going to blow until you've blown as much as you can and there's nothing left in your lungs. All right? First, what I have to do is I have to click on this to turn the experiment on. So whenever you're ready, you are going to, and I want this to close. Can that close? Whenever you're ready and you do the inhale, I'm just going to press record here. Okay? So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and you can blow. Oh, okay, you can stop there. Now, let's stop the experiment. Thank you very much. We're going to switch this out. And that really wasn't a very super hard blow. We do want you to blow, but we want you to blow right to the end. We want you to just keep on blowing. Now, I'm quite concerned because my device now has not indicated a particular thing. So let me take a look at what this one says. Hold on one second. So, Cade, your lung capacity on that one, and it was really quite sad because I would think it should be greater, is 3.736. So that's what you can put in there, 3.736. Now, I'm going to do the next one because I want to demonstrate how to do this maybe a little better. So I'm going to put that in there, okay, and I'm going to run another experiment here, and that doesn't seem to be showing us anything. Okay, so here's the way it should look. Oh, I got to put my nose piece on here. Okay, so I blew and I blew and I blew and I kept on blowing as much as I could so that every little bit of air was out of my lungs. Now, this device is not actually communicating the information that I want here, but I'm going to stop right there. Oh, hold on. Cancel. And my number was 5.086. 5.086 liters. All right? So did you fill in the Google form and you've sent it? You can now submit it. So you can submit that day. Oh, you want to do a redo? Is that what you're saying? Okay, don't submit it then. Now I need another volunteer. It'd be nice if we could get everyone to do it. No, really, come on. This is only fun if we get enough data. Come on, folks. This is painful. Let's. We don't want to try this. We don't want to get any data. All right. I really don't care. That's fine. This isn't an official lab. I wanted to give it a shot, but looks like we're not going to get any data. We'll watch the video on the respiratory system. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. If this was a real lab, and I had made this up as being a real lab, and I contemplated on doing that, then I'd make you all do it. You'd have to do it. But because I'm just kind of playing with the equipment, not a big deal. All right, we'll switch to the video. Okay. Okay, let me just find the video here. I got to switch to.